July is coming up quick, and we got a lot of great stuff coming this month, including a couple of things just come out of nowhere and look cool as hell. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the top 10 new games to pay attention to in July 2024. Starting off at number 10, I mentioned some things that came out of nowhere and look cool as hell. This is absolutely one of them. It's called EvilVEvil, and I do realize that there are people that have been paying attention to it longer than I have, but it's not a game that's been blasted in our faces per se. It is a vampire shooter, but man oh man does it look like it's got some serious momentum. In a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of the recent Dooms. Like, it clearly takes some influence there, but there's also obvious visual cues that have absolutely nothing to do with Doom. It's very fast-paced, very arcadey looking. You got vampire powers, you're blood-sucking, etc., etc. It advertises itself as a game where you mow through hundreds of enemies without remorse, and the trailer makes it look like that. I mean, this honestly looks like one I'm going to have to play. It just feels like it's going to be a good time. I love some of the movement stuff that you see in the trailer, the big jumps. EvilVEvil is a PC game currently. I have to imagine it's going to be one that hits consoles eventually, but we'll be seeing it hitting Steam July 16th. Moving on to number 9, it's Zenless Zone Zero. I don't completely know what to make of this game, as it's a free-to-play action RPG. It's a single-player game. We don't see a lot of free-to-play single-player games, and that does, which obviously does imply live service, but I don't know exactly what that's going to entail. It's a very good-looking game. It's got an anime aesthetic, but it does it very, very well. So you play as a proxy, which is somebody who I think acts as kind of a guide or perhaps an assistant of some kind, obviously a deadly one, and you explore alternate dimensions and recruit new members to your party. Eventually, it looks like you get a fairly large party, and it looks like it could be a pretty fun and chaotic hack and slash. I'm excited to see where it goes. It's coming on Windows, mobile, and PS5 on July 4th. At number 8 is Flock, a really cool looking game it's just really different looking. It's a game where you play as a bird rider who kind of shepherds a bunch of different animals around. There's a lot of exploration focus from the looks. Basically, you start off escorting hover sheep around, getting them to where you need to go, and then you start getting into more involved prospects. It's a very pretty game. Definitely evokes the kind of Journey type aesthetic, in my opinion. And for me, that's a definite fun thing. Also, the game, in terms of what kind of game it is, does have a bit of a feel of that sort of Journey idea. The less action-oriented type game, but there does look to be a little bit more going on here than just simple point A to point B journey. It seems like a lot of the game will center around certain goals. And honestly, it looks like a nice reprieve, something different. Every once in a while, you want to see something different, and this looks like it. Flock is coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and PC on July 16th. And number 7 is Once Human, a survival game that really goes out of its way to sell itself as having a very unique world, a unique premise, a unique set of circumstances that you do not get in other survival games. Basically, it's kind of like if Annihilation was a survival game, but we see what I think looks like much better shooting than you might expect in even an action-oriented survival game. When you live in a world where this weird stardust alien thing comes down and warps everyone's DNA, it is very different looking, and it is something that I am very interested in. I hope that it fulfills the promise that it kind of gives us in the trailers that we've seen of it, because again, it kind of has the potential to be a very different but very good game. Once Human is coming to PC and mobile. It is landing on July 9th, and I think that it's definitely got a lot of potential. At number 6 is Shim, a game where you're a little shadow glob. I don't know what to call it, but you jump from shadow to shadow. They function like a puddle for you. And honestly, it's 100% the type of game you would play as a child, except for it's an actual game now, a video game, where you actually go into the shadow rather than just step on the shadow. I don't know how this didn't get made earlier, because it's a great idea for a game. Also, I absolutely love the way this game looks. It has a very simple color palette, an isometric view, and honestly, it just looks like a load of fun. It's one of those games where I can definitely see myself playing it. It's coming to the Switch, the PlayStation, and Steam July 18th. And number 5 is Earth Defense Force 6. If you're familiar, Earth Defense Force is a series of what I would call arcade shooters. You got aliens, robots, kaiju, and most importantly, giant insects. And you're basically just mowing all of it down. This is a series that stretches all the way back to 2003. It's not the first one that we saw in the United States. It was a Japanese-only game called Monster Tech. The next game is called Global Defense Force. It was released on PlayStation in the US back in 2005. And then it switched over to Earth Defense Force and started going multi-platform here in the US. And that's basically what it's been the whole time since then. It is a ridiculous game. It is extremely over the top. It is completely aware of everything about itself, and it uses that to its advantage. Earth Defense Force is a great series. I'm quite excited to play a new Earth Defense Force game, honestly. This game has actually been out in Japan for 2 years, so we've been kind of just in limbo over here in North America, and we finally get it. It's an interesting plot. It actually has you going back in time to try to alter the events of Earth Defense Force 5, but you end up causing a time loop, and I'm sure that that's gonna just be bizarre and silly. Also, what better excuse to make another one of these games? Earth Defense Force 6 is coming to PlayStation and PC July 25th. At number 4 is Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn, an action RPG. I think the Souls-like with guns is now becoming a thing. I mean, to be fair, it's a subgenre that is ripe. The Remnant games do it well, and I would say that this is not quite that. There is a little bit more focus on hand-to-hand or close-range combat, but there's definitely a lot more projectiles than there would be in a normal Souls-like. There's also some traversal stuff in this game that is just totally out of the ordinary for one of these types of games. It definitely looks good, and there is a demo to play if you would like. I haven't really gotten the chance to sit down with it, but it is one that I am intending to play, because obviously we have a little time between now and July 18th. It's one that I think looks good, and I do think it has a little bit different of a flavor than Remnant, so to speak. But it also seems like something that exists because Remnant existed and somebody realized that it was a viable subgenre, which I'm happy about. I would like more Souls-likes with guns. I think that's a good genre, and I think there's a lot of people that could do a lot with it. So I'm happy to see Flintlock: Siege of Dawn. It's coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC July 18th. And number 3 is Frostpunk 2, a game I actually am a little bit shocked is happening. They announced it 5 months ago. I was not really expecting it, but Frostpunk is a really good city sim that adds a lot of survival elements, particularly the fact that it's set in the frozen, solid, post-apocalyptic world it is. It's also kind of a bleak game that you're fighting against a lot. That isn't just the elements. It isn't just the fact that it's more narrative-oriented than your typical city builder, but that narrative isn't predetermined. This is a game that really makes you feel the stakes and ramps up the drama a great deal. It's not, again, your typical city builder. Very, very survival-oriented, very, very management-oriented, but again, the stakes get very high. I enjoyed the first one. It seems like they're expanding the systems quite a bit for the second one. It looks much more involved, and I think that's the right direction to go in, so I'm quite excited to see exactly how it pans out. Frostpunk 2 is coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC July 25th. And number 2 is Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess, a game that, in my opinion, actually, the way that the game moves reminds me a lot of Pikmin, but it's not Pikmin at all. It's an action game. It does have a day-night cycle. I will say it does look like it has some of the ideas of Pikmin, but obviously there's no Pikmin. You're a guy. It's a single-player game. You're out fighting against a defilement that sort of mutates the mountain and screws everything up. While for whatever reason, Pikmin was something that I picked out immediately. If you look at how it fights, you can see some Monster Hunter, you can see some Dragon's Dogma, that type of thing in there, but I would also say that your perspective is very different. It's not just a direct third person, it's a sort of external camera, not isometric necessarily, but I don't know, we've been seeing more games use this type of a view lately, and it's definitely not something that pisses me off. Some games just really work better from that perspective. They don't all have to move over to complete third-person, over-the-shoulder camera stuff. This looks like a kind of old-school game in some ways, but also a kind of very more involved game that's trying some new ideas, and I like that a lot, obviously. It's also really just a different-looking game. Like I said, visually it evokes Pikmin, but it's also very obviously not Pikmin. It's a game I'm pretty excited for. I've been following for a while, and I'm excited to play it when it comes to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, July 19th. And number 1, finally, is the First Descendant, a looter shooter, a free-to-play one, with some really beautiful Unreal Engine 5 powered graphics. Definitely doing a lot in terms of getting your attention with visuals. It looks like the game is oriented towards a story. I don't know if that story is going to be something that continues on indefinitely or not. It is free to play, so it's safe to assume live service stuff. Again, a lot of these games, they have a lot of potential. I'm not saying that a free to play live service game is automatically bad. In fact, a lot of the time I'm often lamenting that a game looks good and is that, but I am also always going to give them a chance. It's definitely got an intriguing world, very beautiful graphics. The First Descendant is coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and PC July 2nd. I have a couple of bonuses for you. Cataclysmo, an RTS castle builder in which you're essentially designing a fortress that you will be fighting tooth and nail to protect as it is attacked by hordes of monsters and whatnot. It's a pretty cool looking game. There is a demo available if you want to check it out. It's also going to land on PC July 16th. F1 Manager 2024. If you like all of the stuff involving racing outside of the racing, that's what F1 Manager is for. And obviously, it is a yearly series that will add new things involving the roster and features. F1 Manager 2024 is coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and PC on July 23rd. And finally, College Football 25, a game with a surprisingly hype trailer. The first EA Sports NCAA game since NCAA Football 14 back in 2013, so it's been 11 years. It rightfully deserves a hype trailer, and it does look like a game that lives up to exactly what it's supposed to be. Obviously, we won't know until it comes out, but it is coming out on Xbox and PS5 on July 19th. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.